Evening all, welcome to the finale of RaceOnOz's Season 11 Division 1 Sunday League. We are at Interlagos this Sunday night, and I'm once again joined by Hatfield.
Hello.
And for the final round of the season, we're joined by Norm Exceed. We'll just call him Norm tonight. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, thanks for having me.
No dramas, absolute pleasure. We've got an exciting race tonight around the Brazilian Formula One track. What are the points looking like, Hatfield? What are we looking at in terms of the title?
Well, Keaton's already taken the title, quite comfortably, in fact. Risky tonight, just needs to show up. If he can show up, he will grab second in the championship. Where the interest lies is for third place, final place on the championship podium. We've got a few drivers in with a shot. Holland, Mint, Viper, Razor, and Noble with an outside chance. So that's what we'll be watching tonight.
Exciting stuff, and of course, Interlagos is a place that's it's really going to throw it up in terms of the battles and the strategy. And I think it's just going to be a really tight race all around. Norm, what are you expecting to see on track?
I'm expecting to see some pretty close racing. Hopefully there's a good battle for the win and Keaton doesn't just run away with it.
Well, there might be a little bit of battling in the pits. Early sources saying we're looking at possibly a 2 or a 3 stop. Field might be split between that decision, so I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Awesome stuff. I think that is the popular choice being the 3 stop. Those who are maybe a little bit lighter on fuel and tyres going for the 2. But guess we'll have to wait and see. We'll go over now to Brazil, where it's the Interlagos Grand Prix circuit for round 7.
Super B team.
Phew. And here we are on the grid, and it's none other than Keaton 231, who has once again taken pole position here in his McLaren RS01. It's been Matt in second, great start to his third position charge with Metal Gear, Viper, Captain Risky, Brian, Razor, Chopper Dog, and Hatfield rounds out the field in a 9-car grid, so a little bit quiet for our season finale.
Yep, but consistent as always. If I could even talk with myself, running last.
Not allowed to.
As they get underway, heading into turn 1. Of course, rolling start, not too much excitement. Even spaces between all the grid, just as long as they don't screw up the first Senna S. As we get 29 laps underway, Holland quite close to Mint there. Maybe he'll get a run on this. I guess you could call it the back straight.
Good run.
Keaton already out to a big lead.
And Matt's going a little bit defensive with Metal Gear already. He's got a really good start there as a third place driver. Viper under a bit of pressure from Captain Risky as well.
Yeah, a couple of little 2-car battles.
Brian just gapped a little bit back to those guys. Razor and Blended Cat just a little bit further back with Hatfield. Just a strong start back there in 9th.
Strong 9th from Hatfield. It'll be tricky, these slower corners in the RS01's twitchy at best, so try to keep those rears planted, especially as the tyres start to wear.
Well, that's the thing. As an MR car, of course, it's the mid-engined rear-wheel drive drivetrain. It's always going to rotate a little bit differently to how our normal front-engine rear-wheel drive cars do. So keeping them on the deck is a lot harder than what it may look. And Norm, I think you're probably in a decent position to say how these cars drive. I mean, you ran a season with I think it was Monkey Mat New Zealand. How was that for you in these cars?
This season was kind of different settings and tyre wear rates and all that sort of stuff. But the car's actually, quite loose in the rear end and definitely a handful to drive, especially in those slower corners.
I'm sure you had a handle on it though.
Yeah, it definitely takes a bit and a lot of practice. I mean, even now, I'm not in this race, but I was struggling all season.
I'm sure if you were, you'd be right in the fence, as Razor is all over the back of Brian here.
And Brian,
No offense,
Brian's probably someone we'll look at to do the 2-stop. Now, he's someone who his ambitious strategies have caught the eyes of Australian racers for seasons, I think you could say. He's always been the one to try that 1-stop when no one has, unless your name is Emily Jones trying it at Yamagiwa. But Brian has normally been the forefront runner for strange strategies, so
Well, you say catch the eye, but it generally doesn't catch the eye until after he's in front of you when you make your stops.
exactly, yep. It's normally quite calculated from Brian, but this season just hasn't really gone to plan for him. So we'll see
I
if
mean,
he
he's
can make it
fighting.
work here.
I think he's equal points with Hatfield going into this round, which just tells you more about that than it needs to.
Absolutely, and these top three have really gapped a little bit. It's Vipers in fourth, who just seems to be maybe holding Risky back a bit.
Well, I think Risky at the pre-season practice races, he was very quick at Interlagos. It was disappointing that he was put into the wall on the final lap
I think that
by
was
a Div 2 driver.
Mustafa dive bomb, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, dive bomb from a few corners back.
Bit of bump drafting going on there actually between Viper and Risky, so maybe just working together, maybe keep ahead of Brian and Razor.
Yeah, and try and close that gap to the top three ahead. So what is that gap we've got now from third to fourth?
We're looking at 3 seconds at the moment.
Wow, we're only on lap 3 and we're already up to 3-second gap. They're going to have to work hard if they're going to try and get on that podium by the end of the race. Yeah, Risky doesn't seem to be wanting to have a look anywhere, just sort of staying put behind Viper.
It's all a bit of a procession at the moment. I mean, Interlagos is a historically difficult track to overtake at, so these guys are really going to have to be calculated when they're sending the moves tonight.
Well, if they send it wrong, there's a lot of grass and a lot of walls that you can put your car into.
A lot of places to get it wrong. It's a very punishing circuit.
Hatfield sort of quarterback on the rear of Chopper Dog here. Team orders might come into effect.
Final race of the season. Are they fighting for any championship order here?
Yeah, probably not. I'd say cards off the table.
Yep, just have a bit of fun. I mean, it's 29 laps of Interlagos. You're not looking to do championship, but you're not looking to fight for the team championship right now. Like, you're just sort of ending the season on a high.
We know how the team's championship is stacking up.
Well, at the moment, Ignition Controls Racing, of which Mint and Viper are a part of, are in the lead. They've got a bit of a gap back down to Bruce Hell Racing. Risky and Razor are in that team. So really, we need a really good round from BHR as a whole to have any chance of taking top spot from ICR after this final round is done. Of course, that team's championship runs across all 5 divisions. So we'll have, after this race, we'd have to wait and see what happens with the other races to find the final point standing. So I'm sure that the mod team will be calculating that through the week, and we might have a result by next Friday.
Looking forward to it, and of course Hatfield's always hard at work with the team's championship, so we do thank him for that. It's a lot of time and effort to sort all of these nuffies out. So yeah, cheers for that as always. But in terms of the BHR and ICR battle, it's not looking too good for him at the moment. BHR sitting 5th and 7th. Razor just caught behind Brian still. And ICR, of course, in 3rd and 4th. So that's looking pretty comfortable at the moment. But of course, there's 4 other divs, so see how it pans out.
It does look like it's going to be a bit tricky for them to pick it up anyway with the points gap. It wasn't the smallest gap. It could be overrun, but we'd need probably a personal best, or a team best as it were, round from BHR to have any hope.
Fair call there. We'll have a look back in the field. Maybe just get the feeling Brian's reeling the duo of Viper and Risky. Maybe he's just reeling them in a little bit.
What are their fuel numbers between Brian and those ahead? Brian just got over 3/4, very similar, Viper. Yeah, they're all about the same.
Yeah, running very similar. Razor, about the same. Chopper Dog, a lot less there in 8th.
Chopper always burns a lot of fuel.
And Hat, not doing too well yourself either.
I just think trying to stay on the back of that group ahead doesn't have the pace this season.
I think Slipstream's a blessing and a curse here, because obviously you really need it down the back straight. It's absolutely crucial to your race to stay in Slipstream if you're going for the straights, but through the corners, the dirty air is absolutely horrendous here. It really flicks off these Group X cars and throws you around pretty viciously.
While we've been rambling on, looks like Holland's closed up to Keaton and Mint's fallen off a little bit. Wonder if we'll see Holland challenge for lead soon. Get Slipstream along the main straight.
He's been using a lot more fuel to get there too. I mean, compared to Keaton, he's used almost a quarter of a tank more. That's huge to be only 5 laps into this race and use that much.
I think we know Holland by now. It's 100%, 110% at all times.
Let's go fast to go home
push.
for him.
I really like that livery of Holland's. It's very yellow.
Yeah, the
Yeah, it's
Renault
probably the
yellow.
best livery in the whole field, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I've always been a little favourable towards Keaton's McLaren RS01. Of course, it is a strange combination of McLaren and Renault. I mean, I think the
Joint
last time they
collaboration.
combined wasn't a very happy partnership, but it's looking to be bringing them titles for now.
Yeah, well, when you've got a driver like Keaton,
Mm,
you know, I don't think Fernando Alonso's that good. So
no, you need to put Keaton in an F1 seat.
Holland all over the rear here. Surely he's going to show the nose somewhere.
Might have a look here. Just thinks better of it here. That is not an overtaking opportunity, is turn 5.
Keaton doesn't run defensive, runs all the way out. Still in track limits.
Of course, the Rouge track limits are the... it's not the white line, as a lot may expect. It's actually the curb out there, so you'll see those guys using all the curb on the exit. They're just trying to extend the legs of the cars, just get every bit out of them.
That's right, 2 wheels on the curb is acceptable.
It is one of the differences of Rouge's track limits compared to what you might see in the FIA Championships. So it can take some getting used to. You see guys like Holland, he comes back from FIA races and he might not extend quite as much of the track as he can, just being a little bit more conservative thanks to FIA.
Funny with FIA, it seems like some corners you can cut completely.
Very true. Yep, there's a lot of exploits, and that's Brian who has definitely reeled these two in now. That's a lot closer than he has been the previous laps.
What are their tyres looking like? Has Brian picked up the pace, or have the top two sort of dropped down a bit?
30.7 from Brian.
Low 31s into high 30s, yeah, and the top two have been sort of, yep, their laps are getting slower while Brian's gotten quicker. That makes no sense, but Brian's tyres are in better shape than theirs.
And he's saving more fuel. That's a bit of a masterful first stint from Brian. We'll see how it pans out. So only 7 laps in, I'll remind you all. But this is looking promising for him early on.
Razor with a very early
out of
stop.
the pits. So Razor, you've got to assume going for the 3-stop here. Really aggressive strategy.
Yeah, well, the 2-stop we're looking at 10 lap stints and a 9 lap stint somewhere in there, but with the 3-stop, we've got 7 laps with one of them being 8. So you'd have to be going for the 3-stop there.
See, normally you'd think that the shortest strategy would be first, so what Razor's done is probably the normal thing to do. So all these guys are maybe just pushing it a little bit if they're planning 3-stop. Maybe we're actually going to see a 2-stop from all these runners at the moment.
Keaton extended from Holland a little bit more since we last saw them.
May just have to keep an eye. And there's actually been a change for position back there. That's Risky, who's jumped Viper's Ed for 4th.
Oh, Brian's all over the back of Viper now.
See what happens here. We'll see if any of these 3 pit in. And it's Risky who comes in with Brian following.
So Viper's out all by himself. He'll have to put in some qualifying pace laps now to try and beat these guys in the pits. Unless he's going the 2-stop. Chopper in behind as well.
Chopper's used a lot of fuel.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. Foot goes to the floor.
Yeah, notoriously pretty hard on fuel. And here's Razor, he's the guy who pitted earliest of anyone. Looks like this undercut might just pay off for him.
Yeah, you'd think the undercut would work alright, but it depends what those tyres are going to be like at the end of the stint compared to these guys that have now done that longer stint.
Well, he's gotten the jump on Brian initially, so that seems to have worked for now, but we'll see if he can reel him in towards the end, like you say.
I guess one of the factors will be if you get in that slipstream you can save that fuel, but you've got to be careful not to ruin those tyres.
Really fragile rear tyres on this thing especially. It's very prone to a bit of sliding, and scrubbing the rears is really easy in this car.
I wonder what next season's car will be like, whether we'll have a little bit more stability.
Oh, Keaton.
Oh, Keaton kicking the rear out, touching the grass there on the exit of the final turn. Well, the final difficult turn, I'd have to say.
No, these left-handers not very difficult, must be said. Top 2 staying out. Any move from mid-mat staying out as well, so surely a 2-stop for these top 3 at the moment.
Matt has dropped off the back of those 2 in the lead.
And Viper staying out as well.
A bit.
Yeah, Matt just doesn't really have the top 2 pace at the moment. He's just sort of throwing the car around a little bit more. Just a little... I don't know, hard to explain.
I mean, you don't like to say it, but the term has been thrown around. Has been.
Yeah.
So we just have to see if he's still got the skills that took him to Europe.
Yeah, we saw him. I mean, obviously he did go to Europe with that GT Academy program, and he's taken some wins off Keaton in the past, but I mean, a GT Academy champion, obviously no match for the might of Keaton McNaldo, so it's no surprises there, but we'll see what he can come up with later in the race.
Surely Keaton should get some kind of sponsorship with a name like that.
Ah, well, I mean, we've been trying to hook up some KFC sponsorship for him, but apparently they rejected his last name immediately, so that went through the floor.
Sad times we live in.
Absolutely. Now, we haven't had a lot of time actually just to focus on this this big chopper dog livery. Anyone know what the go is
from
with
the
it?
team livery that he was running early on.
Yeah.
What have we got on here?
He's caught the grass!
Oh, that's very easy to do there. You start to get in a groove, you think you can push it a little bit wider on entry. Keaton and Holland have both pitted. And so has Matt. Oh, wow, Holland's used almost double.
Look at the save from Keaton and Matt. Great work there from those two, showing their experience.
That's not what Chopper needed there.
And
Although he
Viper.
can only lose one position.
Viper's still going.
Wow. I mean, sometimes there's good strategies and other times there's just idiotic maneuvers, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
I think it has to be said this is probably on the latter of those two options, but
Well, considering Keaton's still come out in front.
yeah, I mean, you've got to say the race win's gone for sure from Viper.
Like generally it is once the flag goes green. Flag,
Yeah.
lights, whatever.
I mean, we did see Red Bull Ring changed a little bit, but
Yeah, well, we
bit of
won't
a
mention
fluke.
that. As Risky all over Matt here.
Of course, Matt will just be bringing his tyres up to spec now. Risky with already warm tyres. See if he can get any moves done.
Well, you've got to make a move early because once those tyres get up to temperature, it'll be gone. With that
Metal
spin
Gear.
that Chopper had, how much time did he lose there? I mean, I guess we can't say. We don't know how far ahead he was of.
He's
What's
6
his
seconds
gap?
off the back of Hatfield.
6 seconds. That's a lot to make up.
Just an awkward spin for him. I mean, like you said, catching that grass on the outside, really easy mistake.
Yeah, you start getting a bit more confidence. You think you can take the entry wider to get a bit more exit speed, and there's no curb out there. So, as Viper comes in,
It looks like a good save from Viper.
It's a little bit more than what Keaton and Matt had, so...
depends if he's going to put in the same amount or not. Really, as to the length of the pit stop. He was battling with Risky prior. Risky will now have that sort of fresh tyres lap with the slipstream from Matt. You'd think he'd be out behind. You'd think Risky would be in front of Viper, sorry is what I'm trying to say. And he is.
He is by
Where is
massive
Viper?
amounts. Viper's nowhere. That's a huge loss for Viper. That undercut's cost him big time. And the likes of Risky, Brian,
massive.
Hatfield, Razor, they have thrown him in the bin, to say the least.
Well, that fuel save might bring him back later in the race.
I mean,
Well, now he's just got to hope he doesn't get held up by Hatfield once he catches up to him.
yeah, Hatfield obviously on the different strategy and slightly more worn tyres. So as long as he can keep it a pace up, it shouldn't hurt Viper too much. But on what's probably a two-stop at the moment, Viper's going to have something go his way to even salvage a good result at the moment.
Well, who else is on the... It's only the top three. Well, sorry, not top three. Risky's in third. So it's Keaton, Matt and Holland on the two-stop, isn't it? And the... apart from Viper, the rest of the field doing 3 stops.
That's right, yep. So just 4 drivers doing two-stop, which is not what we expected to see, actually. I think we thought we'd see the very top guys do the two-stop just to maintain track position, but Viper's sort of just thrown out a bit of a curveball and landed himself in
I
8th.
wouldn't call him one of the very top guys, that's for sure.
No, he's a very, very unlucky driver, I think you could say.
Is that track limits there from Risky?
I think he's pushing the envelope, but
And that might result in a penalty for John O'Stan.
yeah, I mean, he's racking up a lot of penalties this season. He's really got to be careful with how he's going about his life.
You don't want to hit any of those non-attendance, minus 10
No,
points.
absolutely not. And after withdrawing from the season earlier, he's really put himself a bad name for the stewards. So
Of which he is one, so...
absolutely. So it is very hard to penalise yourself, but he has managed that about several times now. Metal Gear.
Pulling out very wide in the marbles there.
Really trying to use all the track, and he's wanting to get by Risky now. He does not want to be held up any longer.
Risky, better be careful, he might end up in the fence.
It's happened before. Metal Gear,
Oh.
down the inside. I think Risky just let him go there.
Yeah, that looked a little bit choreographed.
Well, Metal Gear clears Risky. Can he get through to the top two? It's a bit of a gap to overhaul now. I think that's really helped Keaton and Matt there.
I think Risky will be trying to tag along with him.
Looks like he's dropped him a little bit already. That's he'll be in the slipstream here and down towards turn 4, but
Risky's tyres look a little bit cooked.
he's a bit of a cooked bloke. Check in on our resident idiot Viper Z, as he's still behind
Chasing
Hatfield.
another idiot there, yeah.
He's not making many gains, it must be said.
PV.
30.4, not a bad time. See what the leaders are doing. Nearly a second off the leaders. He's not really got the pace tonight, has he?
Has anyone else got 29s, Norm?
So it looks like Keaton, Matt, and Holland are the only ones into the 29s.
And 30s from the rest of the field, or?
Yep, 30s from the rest of the field. Now it looks like Keaton has built a 4.5 second gap over Matt.
That's going to be hard to reel in.
So very
third-
Keaton opening stint, I guess it could be said.
Getting close to half race distance. Oof.
Looks like these two have just found their way to each other again. Razor and Brian, who seemed destined for a bit of a meeting around Brazil.
Match made in heaven.
Their love bright.
Razor getting those wheels over that roof strip. That AstroTurf on the exit side of the corners here, very slippery. You do not want to be out there.
No, it's
Getting all that slipstream down the main straight. Will he have a look? I'm not sure if he's close enough. Or even if he wants to, he might be trying to save a bit of fuel and wait for an opportune moment.
look at his tyres and fuel. Maybe he is just running the conservative line for now. Lap 14 here, so we might see the 3 stoppers come in for their second stop at the moment. And at this point, the top of the 3 stoppers, I believe, is still Captain Risky, who's built up a good gap over Razor and Brian.
Yeah, well, he wants to consolidate that second position in the championship with a decent result.
Well, I think he's already nabbed it.
Oof, a little bit wide there. Yeah, he doesn't exactly need the good result, but always good to finish on a high.
Absolutely. And I think by projected points at the moment, it would be Midmat who would grab third of the title.
Those other guys are going to have to push to catch up. Noble didn't show up tonight, so of course he's out of the running.
It's unfortunate for him. He ran a really good season, but the back half hasn't really gone his way, thanks to John O'Sean, who did cop penalties because of it.
It was his first season, so you've got to sort of come to grips with the way Ruse works compared to if you've just been running FIA all this time.
Absolutely.
So if he does see fit to go for a full season in season 12, which will be running in July, maybe we'll see someone challenging Keaton for the championship.
I think
more reliability than Risky's shown.
I think I speak for all of us when I say it'd be lovely to have Noble back. He was a real addition to the Div 1 field and showed some absolute class in his races with us. So missing him for the final few rounds is a bit tough.
Razor and Risky in the pits. Lucky we've only got 9 drivers, no double stacking required. Nice of the other teams to help out, and they're pink.
Yeah, a bit of a light uniform, and that's a bigger field from Risky there.
Razor's jumped him. Has he?
I
know, I'm looking at the leaderboard. Oh, no, he has.
Razor behind.
Ignore me. I'm an amateur.
You're a cute amateur.
Huh? Oh, you.
Speaking of, we are getting a room.
All
Look at
over the
this.
back of the Hatfield. Look at us.
5th and 6th is on. Super B team going at it.
Super B team. You might think this was scripted, but absolutely not.
No, this is really happening. We didn't get together beforehand and say, hey, let's have a great battle on track just to get the views up. This is genuine Hatfield versus Vipers at action.
Not going to make it easy for you.
No, you tend to be a bit of a defender, don't you? I think it's one of your strong points in your game.
Just ask Spence.
Oh, he knows that very well. He struggles to overtake at the best of times, but against you, never.
Oh, well, he can. Just needs
that's a bit
to,
of attitude.
send it at the ring.
Oh yeah.
Oh, right on the back of Hatfield, you've got to think he'd be taking him into turn 1.
Yeah, probably a chuck down the inside, and Hatfield actually
Hatfield
dives in.
in the pits. Makes it easy for him.
Is this maybe surely a 3-stopper for you here, Hatfield?
Yes.
Straightforward strategy.
Yep. Oh, chopper in behind. A few cracks on the front of that car appearing.
Just a bit of wear and tear on the RSO1. Only 1 litre left too. He has absolutely run that thing to fumes. Just got to keep an eye on Brian here. So he's stayed out maybe a little longer than we would have thought in the 3-stop strategy scenario, and it is possible he could go to a 2 from here.
Yeah, maybe. If he does go to the 3-stop, he'd have that quite like a light fuel load for the final stint. Less wear on the tyres. Might be able to make some moves through the field.
I think the problem there becomes that he may have let his gap slip just that little bit too much. He doesn't really have the outright pace of maybe Risky and Viper at this point, but his consistency has been second to none, maybe only Keaton. So I think if he did pit now for the 3-stop, he would never make up the time.
So he's got to go, what, another 4 laps to get on the 2-stop?
I'd
strategy.
say 3 at the minimum, and he can make it work.
Oh, yep. Yep, with 29 lap race, you can do 10 lap stint to finish off.
And it's Viper who's definitely on the 2-stop, and he may have just played himself back in here. We've overlooked it, but he's come out in 5th with Risky, probably his main competition just behind, although we don't know what Brian's doing yet.
See if we can cross the Norm on the timing screen. Can you give us a split through the field, Norm?
Alright, so Keaton's out in the lead, and then it's 5.5 seconds back to Matt, then 2 seconds back to Holland, and 10 seconds back to Brian, 5 seconds back to Viper, 4 back to Captain Risky, 2 to Razor, 8 seconds to Hatfield, and then another 8 seconds to Chopper Dog.
It's quite a bit of spread there. Only a few guys within a couple of seconds of each other. It looks like this race is really spreading out.
No on-track battles, which is a bit of a rarity this season. We've always seen something on track, but just a little bit quiet at the moment.
It looks like Keaton is just pulling away even more.
It's just a very Keaton performance, and it's really boring, and we wish he'd stop.
Oh, well, good time to talk about Season 12's car possibilities. We've got a vote going at the moment. The car that was at the top of that pre-vote was the Mazda touring car, little roadster, as Holland jumps in the pits.
That is a very fun car to drive. Very fun.
Of course,
got a practice race for that Mazda on Sunday night, so we'll have to see if the drivers like it. And we've got a few more races coming up at subsequent Sundays. A few more cars to try out. The Group 2 Nissan GTR being one of them.
So a few of the
coming out.
open space behind Brian.
Oh, a bit of time to get those tyres up to temp, and then attack Brian.
Should be a good time. The DBR9 GT1 showing up in our polls for the first time. It seemed a popular choice amongst the community as the newest car in Gran Turismo, other than the RX Vision, of course. The other 2 cars making an appearance in our polls were the Ria Mamiya FD3S RX-7, which is a beloved RX-7, as well as the Gran Turismo Red Bull Junior of 2014. And of course, everyone remembers that car from the GT6 days. One of the best to drive, of course.
Yeah, didn't get a run as a season car in GT6, so wait and see if GT Sport And RaceOnOz is its time to shine. We won't know, of course. We're going to run all these practice races for the next 5 weeks. Then we'll have a final poll, see which car becomes the Season 12 car.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, Hatters, but this may be one of the longest off-seasons we've had.
Yes, well, with the coronavirus outbreak, I suppose you could call it, as Brian jumps into the pits. We started Season 11 early, as everyone had nothing better to do. So we had influx of new drivers and returning drivers, a few of which had moved on to real-life racing, and considering that was cancelled, they jumped into the Sims, and we were able to get up to 5 divisions, which was good numbers. So we brought that season forward, and now that restrictions are sort of being eased now, people are getting out and about, so thought what better time to have a bit more of a break. We'll resume after the school holidays, as we normally would, but this time we can get in a bunch of practice with a bunch of different cars and see what people really like after testing them, rather than just looking at the pictures on the internet.
I think it's definitely important for people to know what they're signing up for. It's a bit difficult to just look at the names on the threads and say, yes, that's the car I want to drive for 7 weeks. So to get out there and do these practice races is really informative for sure, and we're definitely telling everyone to get on board with it because it's going to be interesting.
Keaton pits with nothing in the tank. Matt doesn't have much more than that. Brian, of course, pit earlier, came up behind Hatfield. Hopefully that doesn't end his race.
Metal Gear continuing on.
Does Metal Gear have enough fuel to the end?
Ooh.
Well,
I wouldn't have thought so.
So you would think he was pitting for the end.
It's going to be a long stint to the end for him.
Was out of shape.
Oh, they're side by
this is
side on the
tasty.
exit. This is what we've been asking for. Metal Gear jumps Keaton in the pit stops. Does that set us up or what?
Well, now can he hold on? We know he's got the talent for those quick laps. Now he's got the pressure of Keaton behind.
And look at what Keaton's got to use. Fresh set of rubber and nearly 3/4 of a tank to attack Holland with. This is going to be one hell of a battle between these two.
Will he be patient, do you think? Or just send it at the first opportunity?
Oh, I think Keaton has been known to be a little bit impatient. He maybe struggles a little bit just to time his moves, but when he gets them right, are they right?
Yeah, now that I think about it, impatience. I mean, he does like to win championships even before the season's over. Oh, it's risky. Almost loses the rear.
I don't think Keaton needs to do anything silly here. I'm not too sure that Holland has enough fuel to the end.
It's not looking like a lot, is he?
He's sort of dropped off a little bit, hasn't he? I mean, Keaton doesn't really need to do anything. He's already won the championship. I think he wants to win, though, don't you?
Oh, who would?
It's his natural habitat in first position.
Viper peels in.
That's an awful camera shot going into the pits there.
It's not great, is it?
Wall.
He's been running nothing but 31s for some time now. That's pretty dreadful pace from Viper. It's not what he's going to want to do if he's going to pull off the 2-stop, which is what I can only assume.
Risky's in the fence.
Oh, he's in. Oh, he's fenced it.
And what's that? Exited the center S. Just made a meal of it.
To raise it.
Oh no, Captain Risky. What was looking like maybe a 4th position drive, he's fenced it.
Oh, really, story of his season, isn't it? Some rounds been absolutely brilliant, and other rounds just hasn't been able to hold on to anything.
Wow.
I guess that's why he'll be second in the championship and not fighting for first. Maybe next season.
It's definitely been a tale of what could have been. Oh, what else is there to say, really? Wow.
Nothing.
Nothing at all.
What's that gap from Holland to Keaton? Looks like he's pulling away.
It is 1.4 seconds.
Almost out of slipstream range.
Does look like Holland's just trying to extend the gap. I think Norm's right. He doesn't have the fuel to go to the end.
If he does, well, if he did, he'd probably have to save a little bit more than he looks to be at the moment, revving it out in 6th.
He is absolutely fanging that thing right now. But I suppose that means that the battle for first is null and void at the moment. That'll be Keaton's to take with Mintmat following him in.
Razor jumps in. Be interesting when if Holland does have to pit again, where he comes out, and Risky's jumped in behind Razor too.
Now, I think this will be the interesting battle here, because it is now Razor who's probably going to lead the charge towards Viper's Ed. And with Captain Risky's dilemma, of course, it'll be up to Razor just to carry BHR.
Brian's still stuck behind Hatfield up ahead.
Yeah, just caught up behind him a little bit. Hatfield's prolonging his stint a little bit. Check Viper here.
It's a short run to the flag.
And there you have it. Gap between Viper and Razor. Looks like some
Chopper
margin.
in between there as well. Bit tricky to calculate that one, no?
Yeah,
a little bit of maths to
working
do.
it out. Yep. It is
No.
5 seconds.
No joke, it's 4 digits if you count all the decimal places.
Hatfield and Brian really getting close.
All over the back there.
He's getting a good sniff of your ear.
It's not the nicest smell either.
Well, it depends what day you see
a very
it
wide
on.
line there. I can't even breathe. Holland in the pit.
That's the stop we were waiting for. That's really unfortunate for Holland, who maybe just miscalculated his fuel number, or if he's going for a bit of an alternate strategy. But I think his race will be against Minmat now.
Looking at the exit of the pits there, you can see the little line on the map. I think Mint's got him quite comfortably. Whether or not Holland can use the pace that he's got to sort of catch up, but he's taking a lot of fuel on board.
Yeah, maybe just going for the fastest lap here. See where Hat can come out. See Captain Risky just navigating the centre S's, and it's Hatfield you can hear in the background just rejoining the circuit. Probably going to be well behind Risky and maybe relegated to an 8th place for the rest of this.
Yeah, I don't see the Selby boys in 8th and 9th doing much more from here unless there's a spin up ahead.
No, I mean, looking at the field, there's not a lot going on. Maybe the closest battle that we've got to keep an eye on is going to be this battle for 4th between Viper's Ed and Brian. And Brian, who's... I think we talked him up at the start. He's played himself in here brilliantly. That's more than enough fuel to go to the end, I think.
Both got similar amounts.
This would be good then. Of course, Viper's going to have to overturn the gap first. With only 6 laps remaining, it'll be a bit of a tall order, but we've seen him pull these sorts of moves off before, so...
Question for mine is about Brian's late race, I guess you could say consistency. When we were at Catalunya, he was doing quite well, fighting for the lead, and then late race he made a little mistake and had a spin. So while he's sort of been flawless throughout the race, it's near the end of the race. I just wonder if it can crack under pressure. We'll have to see if he can hold on to it today.
I think that was a bit of a Catalunya curse that we saw from Brian. It doesn't seem like his favourite racetrack. He did have a dilemma there in the Group 2 race for FIA. That was the Superstars night there for Nations Cup. And he just sort of threw away a decent result there, which was really unfortunate for him. He drove fantastically. But no, I do expect him to hold on here, and if he doesn't hold on, it'll be bloody close between these two.
How would you rate Viper's overtaking if he was to catch him?
Oh, I think before Keaton. Massive attitude there.
Sideways.
He's caught me off guard there. Without answering your question directly, I might palm you off to Norm there. Norm, how would you rate
Viper's overtaking?
I think he's pretty patient when it comes to overtaking. I back him to get the job done.
Yeah, you've heard it there.
Ryan is pretty good at defending. He likes to talk up his racecraft and all that sort of thing, so I don't know, it could be interesting.
If you're in the field tonight, Norm, where do you think you'd be? Top 10?
I don't think so.
Probably 11th at best.
I think I'd be going the wrong way around the track, to be honest.
Hang on, Holland's up in 3rd.
This man, famous for that incident at Capering, if you haven't seen, was the backwards driving incident of Season 5 of GT6. He's
Oh, it was nothing. You used to get ghosted when you were going reverse, so no harm, no foul.
nothing
You should
really
have seen
happened
the
on it.
lines. They were good lines.
Oh, it
Probably the
was.
fastest lap in reverse I've ever seen.
He's a changed man since then. Someone who's really mounting a challenge for our Div 1 title, and I expect to see him right up there next season. And yeah, we just do like to look back at that and laugh of what did go on.
Fond memories.
Fantastic memories. It just looks like Viper's closed the gap here.
I have to say, I reckon Norm would be in this battle for fourth.
Yeah, I think the outright pace has definitely been there for you, Norm. So with that in mind, probably in between Viper and Razor, having a sniff at me.
Yeah, possibly. I'm not the biggest fan of the track. I do usually require a lot of practice here.
Well, what's alright? We'll go down to Baby Kingdom. We'll get you a new pacifier and put it in your mouth for the next.
It sounds like a plan. I like that one.
It's a win-win-win situation. And here's a question to both of you: where does Interlagos sort of rate on your tracks in GT Sport? I'll start with Hatfield. What do you think
Not
of
a fan.
Interlagos? No?
Not a big fan of the track. I mean, I don't know, lapping by yourself might not be so bad, but just the way the corners are with those big wide entries, and then it really depends who you're racing with, I suppose. Wouldn't be a fan of it on public races, because those wide entries just look like an open door to anyone who just likes to stick their nose up. They don't even get the overtake done, and you end up with a T-bone.
Yeah, it can be a bit of a SR down first. And Norm, care to elaborate a little bit? What doesn't work for you around Interlagos?
It's just the bottom of the pile. There is to it.
Interlagos is
Apologies
on
to
the
all
pile.
our Brazilian listeners, of which we have probably zero. And we've got even less after that.
Obrigado, Senna.
I think Norm also said that he prefers Prost over Senna. Just so.
Who doesn't? I mean,
I wouldn't go as far as saying that.
no, I
but,
don't think I could back that. Even though we're driving a French car here, I've got to pick Senna over Prost.
Yeah, Norm's a big McNish fan anyway.
I don't even know who that is. So
Alan McNish, come on.
I'm still lost.
Yes,
he was
today in F1.
He was a Scottish World Endurance and Formula 1 driver. Wasn't particularly successful in Formula 1, but he had a great stint in World Endurance Championship. I think maybe, sadly, what he's most known for is that horrible accident at Le Mans in 2011 in the Audi R18, when he backed it under the Dunlop Bridge and nearly killed a few photographers.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's one way to avoid paparazzi.
Yeah, it's absolute miracle, I say, and I'm not a religious man, but absolute miracle that no one got hurt that day.
Viper closing that gap to Brian, but he hasn't got much time left.
3 laps to make it happen.
Being in that slipstream, going to close right up. Where will he make the move?
Very possible. These two, of course, share the same team. They are part of Revo Satellite Racing in the FIA series and soon to be RaceOnOz. So they do know how they drive, and I think it'll be a really tight battle here.
Right up here. Where will he do it, Norm? Where's he going to throw it down?
I think probably into the first corner. Like, yeah,
Turn 1?
Through this, yep, turn 1. Through this middle section, it's a bit hard to pass, and the slipstream down the front. I think he'll get it done.
Sit patiently. Oh, I wouldn't mind him having a go at that final tight left before the run on the straight.
I think the problem there is if you throw a move at that final corner, you're really opening yourself up to just the other guy coming through with slipstream.
I guess there's nothing left than to wait and watch. He's not that close, but the slipstream can help if he gets a very good exit here.
Oh, Brian, that's not a good exit. This will be on here at turn 1.
Viper out nice and wide on the exit there.
These two
Grab
will be
sixth gear.
extremely close. See if Brian uses 7th.
240, 250, 7th gear, 250 kilometers an hour down the straight. Brian going defensive.
Oh, Viper just can't make it happen.
Not quite there. But we've got the next straight coming after the S here. Might be able to have another go. I'd wager Brian to go to the left, to go defensive again.
And he is.
He does. It's not quite long enough. Oh, Viper has a little look.
Oh, that's some aggressive defending going on
Just
there.
letting Brian know, I think. Right, I'm here, mate. Keep those mirrors full.
He does like to be pretty aggressive with his overtakes. Not there, Viper. Oh!
Brian defensive again. Can he hold on another 1.5 laps? Seems to have every answer at the moment. As long as he stays in those defensive lines, there's not much Viper can do. He'd have to clear him before turn 1.
Oh, you make something happen here.
Yeah, wrong side of the road again though.
It's just not going to work for him. Brian is making his Renault as wide as possible at the moment. Viper just struggling to get the place. This is the battle for fourth we're watching. Final lap coming up here as Keaton's already going through the center S's.
Viper in the slipstream again, heading onto the main straight.
And you'd back Brian to go defensive here.
Those fuel numbers are looking low as well. You think they'd probably just make it. Yes, Brian very defensive on the inside. Viper in that slipstream. Pulls out to have a look at the outside.
Oh, they bang wheels.
Side to side contact.
There's nothing in it. Viper's so close here. This is as close as he's been.
Back straight again.
Brian. Oh, Brian on the curb! He's around in the Armco.
He's in the fence. Oh, that ends up. Oh, and look, he's going to lose position
as well.
Oh, bugger.
Heartbreak for Revo, who was putting up an absolutely amazing defensive effort until then. It looks like Risky might get him too. Oh, Brian runs him out of road.
Oh.
I think that's a penalty for Jono.
Yeah, it's not on for Jono. He's going to cop a big minute there.
Would that be? It's not really unsafe rejoin, but he was still getting back up to speed. Do you have the right to be defensive when you're not at race pace?
You know, I think it's the final lap of the season. Let's let that one slide. But it's
that's really dirty Risky's tyres. Keaton, final race of the season, another win on the board. He's happy about it. Well
brilliant
done.
Brilliant drive, Keaton. It's Midmat who comes in second. There has
clean
been
run from him.
Is there has second. Metal Gear in third.
Consolidates. Just too much fuel burn from him.
And here it was, the guy who we thought his strategy had thrown him completely out of the race, but
instead it was Brian that threw him back in.
Oh, it still would have been fifth regardless. I think it's a strong, safe drive for Viper. Nothing special.
Yeah, well done. Fourth in Div 1's nothing to sniff at. Oh, Razor.
Binned it over the line.
Celebratory donut over the line.
Same
and
with Risky.
Follows suit.
Has he crossed the line there? Oh.
Yes, just made it.
Bloody close. Must be said that Razor was a bit of a quiet performer there, just to sneak his way up to fifth.
Yeah, well, unfortunately for Brian, put it on that curb, and with the tyres what they were, just couldn't hold on to it.
Yeah, it was a bit of a tough slog there, and Chopper Dog just rounds out the field, and that was it. That was our 29 laps of Interlagos to seal the season, and of course Keaton, our champion. Well done there to Keaton.
Yeah, 11 in a row. He has not lost a season at RaceOnOz in GT Sport. Crazy record still stands.
It is just alien.
It just makes you question what's possible in this game. The fact that he can go that far. I mean, it's easy to say he's the only good driver signed up, but when you've got people the same caliber as Mintmat in here, it's impressive.
He was probably challenged more than he has been in past seasons. He was it 2 races that he didn't win, when generally you'd be looking at him maybe not winning one of them.
Very true. Yep. It's been an interesting run. I think we've had a very different mix of winners. Of course, we had Noble take that win. Who else?
Through non-attendance to Keaton, we do have to say, but Risky did beat him on terms.
So did I.
That's
true. So there was 3 races there that.
Yeah, I think there is the controversy surrounding Risky's win. There is that huge amount of fuel left in Keaton's tank following a post-race inspection, but we'll let him pass on that one. I think
some of those pit guys were in bare char uniforms and just didn't take the hose out.
Oh, that'd do it. That'd explain a lot. I think the big story of the season is there has been Mitmat didn't win a single race. I think that's the first time that hasn't happened in some time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what can you say?
He's shit.
Sometimes some drivers, they just lose focus, start to get a little bit later in their career, and while they've got the experience, it's that raw pace, that raw talent, it's just not always there.
No, he seems to
have to dig. they have to dig deep to find it. So
Yeah.
anyway,
I think
thanks
he is
for
letting
joining
Hank
us.
take the steering wheel a bit too often.
Thanks for joining us tonight, Norm.
Hey, no worries, guys. Pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have
Thanks
you.
again for leading us through Viper.
Oh, it's been awesome. We're not exactly sure what's going to happen with Demo One Garage going forward. He has now recovered from his broken foot, which is fantastic to hear.
Yeah,
But
it's
we
good
are
news.
working on a solution going forward. Of course, a lot of people have shown some support towards the Super B team,
Super B team.
but
Super
of
B
course,
team?
we are committed to show you the best possible stream of the Div 1 guys, and I'll be the first to admit we're not exactly the most professional bunch to do it. So of course,
Yeah,
leave some.
that's not even in my vocabulary, that word.
No, it's not really even scratching the surface,
Yeah,
is
I've
it?
been talking to Josh at Demo 1. I'm hoping to try and get him in for all races live streamed next season, but with other commitments that Demo 1 has, I'm not sure if that'll be the case. Hopefully, at least we can get them in for half the races, and Super V team can fill in the gaps.
It sounds like a plan. And of course, leave any feedback you have down below. We do want to hear, what do you prefer? Do you want to see Demo on Garage? Do you want to see the Super B team, the Misfits? And of course, any changes
Any
you'd like to
insults
see.
that you have?
Insults, yep, we accept everything. Do you guys want to start a has-been Mintmat poll or anything? Those are fun these
Yep.
days.
Hashtag has been Mintmat.
Yeah, that's the one.
Trending on Twitter right now.
Oh, it should be. There you go. I think we'll call it there. It's been a fun season. Is that the cut?
Yeah, that was the cut.
Okay, that's
to end on him. Why do you? We're
It's
not
okay.
recording
No.
Hank, so when he talks to you, why are you talking back?
I didn't.
There's going to be a bit in there where you reply to.